The White House is warning that without new pandemic funding, 100 million Americans, that's 100 million Americans, could develop COVID-19 next fall and winter. The Biden administration is renewing its call for another $22.5 billion in COVID relief money to help provide therapeutics, testing, vaccines, and boosters. And the White House COVID-19 response coordinator explained on Sunday that what could happen if the virus spreads without mitigation.
We're going to have a lot of waning immunity. This virus continues to evolve, and we may see a pretty sizable wave of infections, hospitalizations, and deaths this fall and winter. Whether that happens or not is largely up to us as a country. If we can prepare and if we can act, we can prevent that. But we're going to need Congress's help, and that's one of the key messages here, is we need the resources to fight that battle so we don't have that kind of a fall or winter.
And joining me now is Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen, who's on Appropriations, Foreign Relations, and Budget committees. Senator, the White House is asking Congress, as I said, for $22.5 billion emergency aid funding, and the Republicans are asking for a much smaller number, $10 billion. They've already stripped $5 billion in global aid from that request. So what happens now?
Well, Andrea, this is an urgent matter. If you have danger coming right at you, the smart thing is to be prepared and get out of the way. If you just close your eyes, you get run over. And if we don't take action now to prepare for the scenarios you were just discussing, that danger is going to hit us and hurt us badly. So we've got to pass this emergency legislation, $23 billion, to purchase more therapeutics, to be purchasing more vaccines and more testing. The terrible irony here is these are being manufactured here in the United States, but others around the world are entering the contracts to purchase these items right now to protect themselves in the future, while here we have Republicans refusing to move forward.
What do you say to some critics, largely Republican critics, who say that some of the states are still sitting on COVID relief money, unspent COVID relief money, from last year's supplemental?
Well, that is COVID relief money to help with the economic fallout from the pandemic, and that is continuing, and states have been programming those funds. So to claw back monies where they've already identified what they're going to spend it on just makes it harder for those states to recover in the long run. This is an emergency. It's coming at us. We need to be prepared. And that's why it's unconscionable that Republicans continue to drag their feet on this. I don't know what they're thinking, but again, when danger is coming right at you, it's better to be prepared.
Now, as you know, today is so-called Victory Day in Russia. It stems from the Soviet victory over the Nazis, but of course Vladimir Putin is using it now to display his weaponry, his troops. They didn't do the flyover, and he didn't declare war or, led to some escalation, but Bill Burns argued this weekend in a Financial Times interview that he is going to double down because he's in a corner.
Well, first, Andrea, what we saw was a sickening use of propaganda. Of course, we've gotten used to this from Putin. Here was a day where they were celebrating the Russian defeat of the Nazis in World War II. At the same time that Putin's attack on Ukraine puts himself in the feet of the fascists, as President Zelensky said. And he is now committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. So the West has been united here, and along with other democratic partners, we are continuing to supply the Ukrainians with the weapons they need. We're continuing to increase our sanctions and isolate Russia. So right now, you have a battle along that eastern edge of Ukraine. Putin wants to move his forces forward, and we want to work with the Ukrainians to push them back. Time is of the essence, and I know the administration is working with our allies to make sure that we get them everything they need so that Putin fails in this aggression. And I do believe that all signs indicate that he is failing. In his speech today, he had to concede the deaths of Russian soldiers and Russian generals. And as time goes on, we need to break down that iron curtain of misinformation that Putin has been using to try to break through more to the Russian people.
And I want to ask you about the abortion vote that Senator Schumer has scheduled for Wednesday, because it's clear you don't have the votes. You're not going to have the votes. You don't even have all the Democrats on board, to say nothing of the Republicans. So aside from symbolism, putting everyone on the record, what's the point?
Well, putting everyone on the record is important. I mean, democracy is about accountability. It's about showing voters and the American people where everybody stands. And as we head toward the elections, the American people have a right to know who wants to protect a woman's right to reproductive freedom, to protect the right to choose. And that's what this bill would do. I mean, we saw the Supreme Court, we see it on the verge of striking down a constitutional right to choose for a woman to have a safe and legal abortion. This legislation would create national protection by putting Roe v. Wade into statute. So I think voters need to know and have a right to know who's going to be standing up for them, because part of the goal of Republicans is once they strike down this constitutional right and get that out of the way, then they want to move forward and pass national legislation that would outlaw safe and legal abortions nationally and override state laws like the state of Maryland, where we've codified Roe v. Wade. So this is an urgent issue. Voters have a right to know, and this vote is part of that.
Senator Chris Van Hollen, thank you very much.